morning. This is Introduction to Algebra, and this is for Monday. Today we're kind of starting a new unit in Introduction to Algebra. We're going to be talking about angles, okay? I sent to you in your packet this week a little piece of paper that was on cardstock. You'll need to cut that out and not lose it because you're going to need it for the remainder of school. So just keep it inside your book after you cut it out. Get a pair of scissors, cut it out. It's a semicircle. Mine's in color. I picked a colored one, so I think it'll show up a little better on camera. This is a protractor. This is a tool in which we measure angles, okay? And angles are very important in building. They're very important in comparisons and things like that. So this is a protractor. We use it to measure angles and the parts of an angle. Let's talk about that first. First of all, an angle is where two lines or rays come together. They are actually rays, okay? So let's back up for a second. If a line, for a piece of chalk, if a line goes, let me move these out of the way. If a line goes indefinitely in both directions, it has an arrow on both ends, this is a line. However, if it has an end point or it has a stopping point or a beginning point, this is called a ray. A ray can go in any direction. A line will go indefinitely on both directions. A ray has a beginning point but no ending point. When two rays come together at the beginning point, they form, so we have a ray that goes this direction, we have another ray going this direction. This is called an angle. An angle, okay? The point where the two rays meet is called a vertex. A vertex. It is in our classroom, it would be the same thing as a corner. A corner is where two walls meet. On an angle where the two rays meet is called our vertex. Now, we can call an angle, every line, every ray, every angle in geometry has a name. Where does the name come from? It comes from some point on that geometric shape. For example, I might have, we're going to call this A, B, and C, okay? I can call this line A, but if I want to be more specific, I would say, oh, this is line AB. That means the line I'm referring to must go through point A and B. So I can call it A and B, line AB, or I can call it line AC. But I'm saying that my line goes through these 2 points. It's kind of like calling you by your first name, your first and middle, or your first, middle, and last name, okay? Now, with an angle, when we name an angle, we oftentimes will just call it, I'm gonna put the letter X there, by the vertex. The vertex, again, is where the two rays come together, that starting point. This is called a vertex. So this is angle X. Now, I can have other points on it. I have drawn one here, and I show you, here's my vertex is A. This ray is ray ABC, or A, X, and Y. There are many names I could give to this angle. I could make the little angle sign when you write the name of an angle. I could call this angle A. I could call it by a bigger name, using the vertex and 2 points to be very specific as to the part of the angle I'm talking about. If I can call this angle A, or I can use 3 letters to name my angle. When I use 3 letters, I must put the vertex in the middle, okay? So I could call this angle BAX. The B from the point on this ray, the A is the vertex, and the X from this ray. I could just as easily call this angle CAX. I have the C from this point, the A vertex, and the X. Or I could call it angle Again, I'm taking a point from this ray, then the vertex, and one of the points from this ray. There are about 9 different names you could give this angle. I'm not going to go through all of them. I think you get the point. Now, a couple of other things about angles. Angles have sizes. If you look at my little chart here, I have a chart that gives us the names, and you will need to know these names, okay? If you have an angle and you measure it, I hope you can see that, okay? Let me bring it to you. If you have an angle and the angle is less than 90 degrees, it is called an acute angle. Okay, so an angle that's between 0 and 90 degrees is, or less than 90, so actually 89.9999, okay? It is an acute angle. If the angle is greater than 90, it is greater than 90, we call it an obtuse angle. Okay, now the way I help most of my students remember this is acute is a little angle. It's a little baby angle, and most people think that babies are cute. So if you don't pretend, so it'll help you, okay? An acute angle is a little angle. It's a little tiny baby angle, all right? So it's an acute angle. Obtuse reminds us of the word of someone that is starring on My 600-Pound Life. They are obese, okay? Very large. And obtuse means a very large angle, okay? So less than 90 degrees, it is acute. More than 90 degrees, greater than 90 degrees, it is called an obtuse angle. There are 2 more angles that I want you to know. That is because these 2 angles are very easy for us to identify. The first one is called a straight angle. A straight angle will always measure exactly 180 degrees. A straight angle is nothing more than a line. Okay? It's a straight line, hence why we call it a straight angle. A straight angle is 180 degrees. The last angle we're going to talk about is a right angle. Now, a right angle measures 90 degrees and it forms a perfect corner. In your book and in books in general, when you have a 90-degree angle, the publishers will always mark that by putting the little square, okay? It shows you that this forms a perfect corner and forms a square. Anytime you see this square in an angle, it means it is a 90-degree angle or it is a right angle. This is important to us when we start calculating angles based on what we see and what we measure. Okay, so one more time, let's say them quickly. A small angle is a acute angle. A large angle or an angle more than 90 is an obtuse angle. An angle with exactly 180 degrees is a straight angle. An angle with exactly 90 degrees is called a right angle. Now, with those things in mind, we have a couple of other interesting things about angles that we need to learn today, okay? So, let's look at the word adjacent. If you live in an apartment and let's say you live in an apartment and someone lives next door to you. There's a wall between your 2 apartments. That wall, on one side, it's your house. On the other side of the wall, it's the other person's house. That wall is what makes your apartments adjacent, okay? I have a neighbor. My neighbor's name is Chris. We have a fence, or he has a fence between our properties. It's right on the property line, okay? On one side of the fence is my yard. On the other side of the fence is Chris's yard. That fence is shared by our 2 families. That is the line, the property line between our homes, and that makes our properties adjacent, okay? So, when you have an adjacent angle, 2 things must be shared. One, you must share a side, just like Chris and our family share a side between our houses. That is one thing. The other thing is you must share the vertex in an angle. This, here I have drawn two angles that are connected. If I say this is, let's make this X, we'll make this A, B, and C, okay? So I have angle AXB. Angle AXB. Does it share a vertex to angle BXC, okay? Angle BXC. Do they share the vertex? Yes, they do. The point X is the vertex and it is shared. Now, the second question to decide if it's adjacent. Do they share a side? In other words, is one ray shared by both angles? Well, do they both use XB? They do. You can see here I have XB in angle AXB, and I have BX, which is the same ray, just by inverting the names. So these two angles share a vertex and they share a side. Therefore, angle AXB and angle BXC are adjacent. Adjacent. Okay? Two more things real quickly about angles. Remember, I told you that one of the most important angles that we're going to see in our book is this, the right angle. Right angles equal 90 degrees. Always 90 degrees. How do I find them in my book? They're going to have a little square drawn in the corner. That means that this is a right angle. If you have two angles that when you add the measurements together, they equal 90 degrees, okay? They equal 90 degrees, then we say that those two angles are complementary, okay? So if I have a 60-degree angle and I want to know the complementary angle, what plus 60 gives me 90? 30. So I know that a 60-degree angle is complementary to a 30-degree angle because when I add them together, they equal 90, okay? So let's say I only have one angle, okay? If I tell you that the angle is 40 degrees, how do I find the other angle? 90 minus 40 is 50. So the missing angle in order to be complementary had to be a 50-degree angle because complementary means that they are going to equal 90 degrees. The last one is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles must equal 180 degrees. So if I say you have an angle that is 110 degrees, what is the supplementary angle? You simply say 180 minus 110. Oh, the supplementary angle is 70 degrees.